What's up, football fans? Welcome back to another episode as we dive deep into yet another Pittsburgh Steelers draft simulation. And let me tell you, this one's got me hyped. We're just a couple of weeks away from the big night in Green Bay. April 24th is marked on every diehard NFL fan's calendar. And if you're riding with the black and gold, then this is a time filled with both nerves and excitement. This right here is the 7th version of my Steelers mock draft this offseason. And the goal remains the same: build a future-ready team without repeating names from previous mocks. That's right if you've been following along. And if not, go check out the older mocks. You already know the deal. I've been mixing it up every week, trying not to recycle players I've already drafted in other versions. Why? Because the Steelers have needs, and I want to show you just how many talented prospects could be fits for this roster. So, if you're watching this and thinking, why didn't he mention that one guy I really want? Chances are I already picked him in a past simulation. That said, let's jump into this week's no-trade draft scenario. That's right, no trades this time. We're keeping it straightforward. But keep your eyes peeled for next week's edition, where I might just throw in a couple of spicy trade-ups or downs. With the 21st overall pick, I'm going with Harmon out of Oregon. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked I haven't picked him yet. Harmon is the kind of prospect that screams long-term value. With Cam Hayward still on the roster but clearly closer to the end of his career than the beginning, Pittsburgh needs to start thinking about the future along that defensive front. And Harmon? He might just be the guy to carry the torch. This dude is explosive off the line, has powerful hands, and a motor that just doesn't stop. For a man of his size, the way he moves is just wild. He's quick, he's agile, and he plays with controlled aggression. Whether it's as a 5-tech or even sliding into a 3-tech alignment in different schemes, he brings versatility and punch. What I really love about him is that he's not just a pass rusher. Sure, he can collapse the pocket, and he's got those violent hand moves that can make offensive linemen look silly. But he's also reliable in the run game. He holds his ground well, doesn't get washed out easily, and knows how to disengage and make a play. Now, let's be real. His tackling technique could use some polishing. There are some missed tackles on film, and his missed tackle rate is north of 20%. But a lot of that comes from just how disruptive he is. He'll burst through the line and force runners to cut quickly, which sometimes leaves him with bad angles. That's something a good coaching staff can absolutely clean up. But the upside? Huge. Harmon even said at the Senior Bowl that he models parts of his game after Hayward. And that's exactly the kind of mindset you want from a potential heir. He's not going to take over Hayward's role on day one, but in sub-packages or 5-man fronts, he can rotate in and start getting real snaps. Imagine a line with Hayward, Keanu Benton, and Harmon. That's a scary trio for any offensive line. And speaking of Benton, his development last season was one of the bright spots for Pittsburgh. And with the flexibility both he and Hayward bring, Harmon's presence just makes that group even more dangerous. In my opinion, Benton and Hayward are capable of playing both 3-tech and 5-tech effectively, and adding a guy like Harmon, who can also do both, gives the Steelers a ton of options when scheming up pressure. And yeah, he may not be starting in base 4-man fronts right away, but in 5-man fronts or hybrid looks, you can rotate him in, manage snaps for the veterans, and start grooming him as the next leader of that unit. The raw traits are all there. Now it's just about refining them and fitting him into a system that lets him shine. Now, let's talk about a pick that I initially said I wouldn't repeat, but I have to walk that back a bit. There's one quarterback prospect I just couldn't leave off this mock, even though I mentioned him in a previous one. That's Tyler Shaw from Louisville. Look, when I first brought him up, he was under the radar. 7th round projection. But after diving into more tape and watching his growth, I'm convinced he deserves more buzz. He's older, 26, and I get that some people see that as a red flag. But to me, that's just more maturity, more urgency, and less time to waste. He has to come in ready, and from everything I've seen, he is. He's got the size you want, 6'5", around 225 pounds. Strong arm, solid athlete, and he throws with confidence. He's not flashy like some of the other quarterbacks in this class, but what he brings is steadiness and toughness. I actually believe his ceiling is higher than guys like Shadur Sanders and Jackson Dart. Yeah, that's a bold take, but I stand by it. His arm talent is legit, and he's got better mobility than people give him credit for. The key here is readiness. At his age, you're not drafting him to develop over 3 seasons. You're drafting him to compete now, to step in if needed, and potentially become the guy. That's what makes him such a compelling option in this mock. And for those worried about age, quarterbacks can play well into their 30s these days. If Shaw can give you solid play for even 6 to 8 years, that's a win. Not every pick needs to be about building a 15-year dynasty. Sometimes it's about solving a problem and staying competitive while you continue to build around the roster. If he performs, no one's going to care that he's not 21. We'll get into more picks soon, including my third-day targets, but I wanted to spotlight Shaw because I genuinely believe he has first-round tools and a mental makeup to succeed. He was overlooked early, but I wouldn't be surprised if a team takes a serious chance on him sooner than expected. As we move into the third day of the draft, things get really interesting. This is where teams separate themselves, not just with big names, but with smart, value-driven picks. And with the Steelers, there's always that chance to find a gem. One of those hidden treasures I've got my eye on is Harvey, the running back out of UCF. Let me tell you something. This guy might not have the most hype, but the tape doesn't lie. Harvey runs with vision, patience, and burst. 3 things you can't coach. He's the kind of back who can wait for blocks to develop, explode through the hole, and hit second gear before defenders even react. What I really like about Harvey is that he brings balance to the backfield. Sure, he's not the biggest guy, doesn't have that bruising power, but when you watch how he reads the field, makes defenders miss, and accelerates, you start to see the potential. I think pairing him with Jaylen Warren could be a smart move. Warren is already a fan favorite, and adding Harvey could give Pittsburgh a dynamic 1-2 punch for years to come. Think about it. Najee Harris is still a factor, but running backs take hits fast in this league. Building depth at that position is essential, and Harvey could be that guy who steps up when needed and even earns a bigger role down the line. Now, into round 5, I'm going defense again, this time in the secondary, with Kobe Bryant, the cornerback out of Kansas. And no, not that Kobe Bryant, but this one brings his own level of fire to the field. The dude competes. Every snap, every route, he's locked in. He plays with grit, and you can tell he takes it personally when someone tries to beat him. That's the mentality you want from a corner. He wants to erase the receiver. He wants the challenge. But here's the catch. He's a little light, hovering around 170 pounds. That's skinny by NFL standards. And when you're out there trying to jam receivers or tackle 6'4" guys at full speed, that can be a concern. We saw what happened with guys like Emmanuel Forbes, who had the same issue, great in college, but struggled physically in the pros. That's why I think Bryant's best shot is as a nickel corner. Inside, he can use his quickness, technique, and toughness without having to match up against those big outside receivers every snap. In the nickel, he can get in a guy's face, play aggressive, and take advantage of his instincts. But for that to happen long-term, he's probably going to need to bulk up a little, not a lot, but enough to hold his own when things get physical. Still, I love the upside. He's smart, he's fast, and he has the tools to develop into a solid contributor. If he's there in round 5, I say take the swing. And speaking of swings, let's talk about round 6, another cornerback, but this one's more of a long-term project. I'm looking at a kid out of Nebraska who's got the frame, the arms, and the tape that flashes potential. If you caught that Nebraska versus Colorado game, you saw it, the way he locked down his side, went toe-to-toe with a highly regarded receiver, and made plays that turned heads. What makes him special is the combination of length and timing. He's not the fastest guy on the board, but those long arms let him break up passes that most corners couldn't touch. He's also incredibly disciplined, doesn't bite on double moves, keeps everything in front of him, and knows when to take a shot. He reminds me of a true cover 2 specialist, a zone corner who thrives in keeping his part of the field locked down. That's not something every team values these days, but there's still room for it, especially in schemes that like to mix in zone looks. Some teams might overlook him because he's not flashy, but I think with the right coaching and development, he could grow into a valuable rotational piece, maybe even a starter in a couple of years. Plus, adding depth at cornerback is never a bad move. We all know how injuries hit secondaries, And having guys who can step in without a major drop-off is the key to surviving a long season. And now we hit round 7. You know I love a good sleeper pick, and I think I've found one. A wide receiver out of Ole Miss who, for some reason, isn't getting nearly the attention he deserves. I stumbled on him while watching some quarterback film. This guy kept popping up, catching touchdowns, creating space, making defenders look lost. 5 touchdowns in a single game. Number 11. And I had to ask myself, who is this dude, and why isn't anyone talking about him? Turns out, he's a late-round projection, maybe even an undrafted guy on some boards. But I don't see it that way. Sure, he's not the tallest, but he's got a thick build, serious wheels, and he runs sharp routes. Inside or outside. Doesn't matter. He knows how to get open, and he's tough as nails. You can see the effort he puts into blocking, which tells me he's coachable and ready to do the dirty work. That matters in Pittsburgh. You want receivers who can fight for every yard, who'll go out there and throw blocks in the run game. This guy fits that mold. If the Steelers grab him in the 7th round, it's a low-risk, high-reward move. You're not expecting him to come in and be WR1, but you're hoping he can make plays on special teams, earn some snaps, and maybe work his way into the rotation. And honestly, I think he's got what it takes. Every year we see late-round receivers who prove everybody wrong. Maybe this is that guy. So just imagine it. A draft where Pittsburgh goes defensive line in round 1, takes a shot on a quarterback with upside and urgency, finds a dynamic running back to add juice to the offense, picks up 2 corners with very different but complementary skill sets, and finishes it off with a potential sleeper receiver. That's the kind of draft that builds depth, adds talent, and keeps you competitive. That's the kind of draft championship teams have. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a twist few saw coming, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin has reportedly hinted at the unthinkable. Tight end Pat Freiermuth could be on the chopping block. While no official decision has been made, insiders close to the team suggest that conversations within the front office have taken a dramatic turn following a season filled with ups, downs, and one fateful lateral. Freiermuth, who just last September signed a 4-year, $48.4 million extension, was expected to be a cornerstone of the Steelers' offense for years to come. He had a solid 2024 season, racking up 65 receptions for 653 yards and 7 touchdowns across all 17 games. Yet despite those numbers, sources say that Tomlin has expressed frustration over key moments. Most notably, the chaotic final play in Week 5 against the Cowboys, which ended in a botched lateral and a loss that haunted the Steelers throughout the season. Some believe it's more than just a play. There's a sense that Tomlin wants to shake things up, a team source said under condition of anonymity. He respects Pat, but this is a team trying to redefine itself post-Roethlisberger, and sentimentality won't stand in the way. That shakeup, if it includes Freiermuth's release, would send shockwaves through the locker room and the fan base alike. What makes the rumor even more puzzling is Freiermuth's strong rapport with new quarterback Justin Fields. The duo connected for several key plays during the season, including a touchdown in Week 4 against the Colts. Analysts have praised Freiermuth for his blocking, route running, and leadership on the field. Cutting him now would leave a glaring hole in Pittsburgh's offensive lineup, one that's not easily filled. As of now, Tomlin remains tight-lipped, offering no confirmation or denial. "We evaluate everyone, every year," he told reporters at the end-of-season press conference. No one's guaranteed anything. While that's classic Tomlin speak, Steelers Nation is left to wonder. Is this just motivational posturing, or is one of their most promising stars really on the verge of a surprising exit? That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.